Hey, welcome to Video Benchmarks. A few people wanted to test and compare their rig for video render speed, and today we are going to help out. It's really not that complicated. We're using 1 minute long projects with 1080p and 4K footage from Sony a7R II camera. You can find links to download the video files in the description below. The video links will bring you to Vimeo channel of photography blog. The complete video export settings are on our website, linked below. The 1080p sample was filmed using AVC HD codec with 1920 by 1080 resolution, 50 frames per second progressive at 28 megabytes per second. The 4K file is using XAVC-S codec with 3840 by 2160 resolution, 25 frames per second progressive at 100 megabytes per second. Once you have the files downloaded, you create 1 minute long timeline in Final Cut or Premiere. To preserve as much of the video quality as possible, we went for video render settings that are as close to the original as possible. This means you have to create your own preset. In Premiere, it's not a big deal. But to do so for Final Cut, you actually have to have Apple Compressor installed. Let's get to the specific settings though. Of course, to be able to compare different video editing software, you want the settings to be identical for Final Cut and Premiere. Let's look at the settings in Compressor first. We created custom export settings in Compressor 4.1.3. On your screen you can see the exact settings. For 1080p sample, the frame size is of course 1920 by 1080. Pixel ratio is 1. Frame rate we leave set on automatic. For codec we use H.264. On the right side you can see that the frame rate we leave it on is current. Keyframes are set to automatic. Data rate we specify 28,000 kilobits per second to match the original and optimized for download. In the encoding part we set best quality, multipass. In the quality section we set resize filter to best, statistical prediction. Retiming quality set to best, motion compensated. As for anti-aliasing levels and detail levels, we leave the values on 0. Now sound settings. We use the AAC stereo setting. Rate is set to 48,000 kHz, render settings quality set to best, and target bitrate to 320 kilobits per second. For 4K the settings are very similar, of course except the resolution, so we'll cover only the differences. Frame size is set to 3840 by 2160. Again, we're using H.264 codec. In settings, we change only the data rate to 100,000 kilobits per second. As for the remaining video settings and sound settings, it stays again the same as the 1080p sample. Now let's look at the export settings in Premiere Pro CC 2015. Let's start with the 1080p sample settings again. Here you can also see that we saved our preset after we finished changing our settings. In the summary you see that the output is set to 1920 by 1080. 50 frames per second progressive. We checked the render at maximum depth. In the bitrate settings we chose variable bitrate, 2pass, and the target bitrate is 28 megabits per second. Below we checked use maximum render quality. As for sound settings we basically left what Premiere suggested, which means AAC codec, sample rate of 48,000 Hz, stereo, audio quality is set to high, and bitrate is 320 kilobits per second. The 4K settings are very similar, except the resolution. The output is set to 3840 by 2160, 25 frames per second progressive, target bitrate is 100 megabits per second. All sound settings stay the same as for 1080p sample. After all this you can save the settings as preset. Now simply take the stopwatch on your phone and time how long it takes to export the 1 minute long timeline on your computer. Start your stopwatch when you hit the button that initiates the export, and stop it when all the rendering finishes. There's something to pay attention to though. Usually it's not done when it shows 100%. It's because it takes some time to create the file, so stop the timing right after all the windows close, or for Final Cut when you get the message that the render was done. You know what would be actually really cool? You test your machine and let us know your results in the comments below, even if you test your computer only with Premiere or only with Final Cut. Yeah, let's do this and get more computers onto our list. It will help people to predict how long their own renders could take. Alrighty, that will be all for now. If you liked this video, mash the like button and subscribe for future videos. May the video editing patience be with you.